Hi everybody, I am going to check quite quickly to make sure all my tech is working. It's been acting a little crazy as usual, and make sure I am live and you can hear me. Otherwise you're just watching my mouth move, right, and not hearing anything. Let's see. Are we live? We are live in the right place. And there's sound. Okay, and I have where I can see any comments. And I want to say welcome. I am Deb K, and I am so excited to be here. Today is another live guidance session. So it's Ask Me Anything, and I am with my higher self and God, obviously, and we will be answering any of your questions. In the meantime, I will share with you ways that you can experience everyday divine every day. This helps you tune with your higher self, with God, with your own soul. And I'm so excited. I will get to a little bit more juicy stuff later in the live today. However, I will preface it to say that there are really big, important things happening that I'm going to be sharing with you over the coming months. And you will start to see and notice little changes here and there that create big changes for you and in the background and in the foreground. Okay, so my notes are blowing and you're probably wondering, what is this over here? We'll get to that. But I want to say, as you're joining the live, please go ahead and drop in the comments below where you are watching from. If you're on replay, hashtag replay, and where you're watching from. I love seeing where everybody is in the world. I am in New England, for those of you who don't know, and I've been here for nearly 7 years. It's been awesome. It's where my little plot of land is very peaceful. So amazing for me. If you love my content, please do join my private group. There's a link somewhere. And if you have friends who you feel would benefit from my content, please invite them to like the page, join the group. It's free. And all of my videos are available on replay, so you don't have to be here live unless you want to be. Sorry, it's windy and I love it. And that is one of the signs that my higher self, Helena, is with us. She loves the wind, and it wasn't windy before I came out here to get set up, and then it started kicking off. So perfect. Okay. So, I'm going to kind of skip over some of the things, but I will say that I have extensive energetic vibrational mastery running in the background. That's led me, there go my notes. It's windy. That's led me to become a leading edge physical guide and healer. And I love helping women who are ready for transformation in their life, no matter how little or how big, and really ready for their own true, beautiful magnificence and ready to magnetize that to themselves. So what I am sharing today may be different to what your current understanding is in some of the things that I say or the way I say them. But just allow this to flow with you. Feel the truth of it. Feel the truth of it and ask any questions that you have. So really quick, what's a higher self? Well, we all have one. And if you are male, it's a he. If you're female, it's a she. And we are all connected to the greater universal energy of God and consciousness, basically. If you would like more in depth about about higher selves, I do have a Meet Your Higher Self video series that is in the playlists on this page and in the guides in my private group and on my up and coming YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch those. So there's a lot of different ways people can receive their higher selves. And if you go back and watch these, Meet Your Higher Self series, and even the live guidance with my higher self and God that I've been putting into a playlist, you can find lots of different ways and ideas of how you can tune to really engage in that energetic spiritual side of living life. So really good to kind of go back and check that out. Okay, so what's going to happen is I am going to grab those notes that are blowing away and secure these notes before they blow away. And I'm going to actually raise my camera up because we're going to do something really special. So bear with for 1 second. Okay, so let's get situated over here and we will begin some really cool tuning exercises. Put that there. All right, let's see if this works. Hold on to your hats. All right, so is this too tall? I don't want you to have to see just my belly in this. All right, we may end up actually going back down and doing it there, but we'll see. Anyway, what I've got going on here is nature. So you saw the little bushy thing in the corner. This is my basil plant. Well, it's several. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here, and it smells divine. Anyway, there's one here that's not doing so good. So this guy's been on my mind and I've been feeling into the energy of what needs to happen. And what I felt is that we're going to move that basil into a pot of its own, separate it from the others because it is wanting to be by itself to develop differently than the others in that pot. And we have some parsley here, and they're still in these little planters how I purchased them at our local farm market, which I absolutely adore. But we're having some issues because some of them are getting a little brown, and I have been trimming these. Like I use these to cook, fresh cooked, so they're being chosen by me vibrationally. When I go to the farm market, I literally kind of tap into the feeling and spend time with the plants, and then I purchase the ones that feel right to me. And when I bring them home, I nurture them with obvious things. They need nutrition, they need water, they need sunlight, but they also need non-physical things like love and my vibrational energy to help them grow. So it's almost like they're little energetic children for me. So we're gonna put move these out of their temporary container and put 2 of them in a bigger pot together and the other 2 in a bigger pot together and see if that helps them thrive a little more. And then this is gonna fall out. My darling neighbor brought down 2 cherry tomato plants, and they definitely need to be transplanted into a bigger pot for their home. But look, they've even got blooms already. So I will be putting those into a new pot, and I will stake them probably later off camera because I did not bring the garden stakes here with me. So one of the things that has been occurring is I've wanted to bring more greenery into the house. Now, I'm not against outdoor gardens at all. In fact, several places we've lived, I've had extensive outdoor gardens in the ground or patio style pots. But what's interesting is I've been feeling the urge to bring more greenery into the house. And this is so perfect, especially if you are someone that maybe doesn't have access to land outside, even a small plot. I mean, you literally could feed a family on a 3 foot by 3 foot plot if you are planting in a certain way. But it may be that maybe outside's not your thing. So maybe even a patio or a deck is not your thing, and there's insects and bugs and all that you need to deal with and manage with your plants, or maybe you just don't like that sort of stuff, and that's okay. But bringing the plants inside and growing them in the best conditions possible can bring you so much joy every day. It can bring you, it's not just something to do, but it's like an experience to have with nature indoors. And you can do it in an apartment building. You can do it, in a house. You can do it if you have a huge plot of land, but you just want something indoors. And you can pick whatever you like. If flowers are your thing, do flowers. If it's fruits and vegetables, do fruits and vegetables. And you can experiment and see what the experience leads you to. Now, the best way is just like feel the way to connect into your soul and connect in with your higher self and God, and then just let that energy flow and follow the things that you notice. For example, if you're standing in front of all the basil plants and you're wanting to pick one that's just right for you, you can maybe just look at it and just gaze at it and let that energy flow and start to try to feel it. And it may not be very strong at first, but there's going to be something, even on a physical human level, you're going to connect with a particular plant in the long line of plants, and that's the one you should grab. And you may not know why, and you may just think it's intuition, but this is what I'm talking about. This is like developing that intuition and nurturing it, just like you're going to nurture the plant that you are bringing home. So you take that plant home, and that's how you begin and have this experience. And let me just get my comments back up over here, because they have seemed to decide to shut themselves off. Make sure. Okay. All right. We're back up and running. Okay, so what should we do first? I think we're going to do these tomato plants first, because they are the ones that are most in need of transplantation. So what I've got here is definitely a larger sized container. I always like something underneath because I like the furniture I have very much. I love it. And wherever this is sitting, I don't want it leaking onto the wood. And you know what? Use what you have, because this doesn't have to be expensive, right? And you can always upgrade later. So if you have, that's interesting. There's a piece of yarn inside my potting soil. But if you have old pots, or somebody who's getting rid of some old pots, you can grab those. That's, free, and you're reusing. And then if there's something you see on sale later, or you want to save up for something really special, do it. Treat yourself. And you just have to remember, nothing has to be permanent. If your taste change, or you find something you like better than the plain plastic green pot from the dollar section, go for it. So I've only put soil in about the bottom half or so, and I am going to gently get this plant out of the container. So you'll see the root ball is pretty wrapped around, so I'm just going to try not to make a mess, but I'm going to break that up a little before I put it into the soil. I'm going to break it up a little down here, and then you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So see how I'm breaking that up? That helps promote growth. And you know what? If you don't already know this, you do now, but we have this amazing thing called the internet. Now, the joke is everything on there is true. We all know that's not true. So you can be guided to, search for something to help you with some of the details and specifics on how to repot certain plants. But obviously, if there's something that is a good tip or trick that a gardener or somebody else who's very in tune with something like this has found out or figured out, by all means, do it. Go with what feels good. So then, after we get that kind of root ball settled down in there, I'm going to try and make sure it's a little straighter in there so it's not completely lopsided when done. I'm going to fill up the rest of this dirt around it to keep it stable. Now, you might not know what kind of dirt to use. Again, internet. I do know that, you know, there's differences in nutrition for your plants. So, what I've found and been guided to is that vegetables like certain things and flowers like certain things, and a majority of vegetables and flowers can just use a general potting soil. And you can go with organic, you can go with Miracle-Gro. I'm not here to tell you what your plants are going to want. You can actually discover that for yourself. And if it's not working, you can always repot it. Like I said, there's always change. Like, change is a big thing in our lives, whether we like it or not. We can learn to embrace it and like it. So here is, this plant is going to be so happy having this new pot for it. So we're going to just set that one aside, and we're going to do the other cherry tomato plant the same way. So back to certain things I've learned through my discoveries and following my instincts and intuition and guidance is that you can also put in the bottom, if your pot that you've chosen doesn't have good drainage, you can put a healthy layer of little like river stone and or sand in the bottom, and then put the potting soil on top, and that'll help with the drainage. It just kind of keeps the root ball of your plant. It's so funny if you guys could see this. There's like dirt all over my tablet and everything. I do have my sparkly glass of water. It's on the other side of the table where hopefully no dirt will get in it, but a little dirt never really hurt anybody. But anyway, so with some plants, anyhow, so putting the, that's interesting. Look at this. So this part of the plant must have been touching the dirt for a while, because if you can see, it started growing roots over here off the side of the stem. I don't know that I've ever noticed that before on any tomato plant. Now, it's been a while since I've had any cherry tomato plants, but that's really interesting to me. And I'm going to keep an eye on that and see what occurs with it. But in the meantime, I'm going to try and plant this guy. It's almost like, I don't know if it wants, let me kind of feel into if it wants to be planted with that part touching, or if it wants to be more upright. So let's just kind of feel into the energy of the plant. And before I do that, let me finish that thought about the sand or the river stone in the bottom of your pot will help keep that root ball up above any sitting water in the bottom. You don't want your roots to rot. That's not good. Okay, let's see what this guy or gal is kind of feeling. So it's feels pretty healthy. We're gonna go with putting that part down into the dirt and see. We're just gonna see. And if it needs changing later, we're gonna change it later. So it wants to grow that way. So we're going to, in this case, we're definitely gonna let it grow that way. Nature is so amazing because there's so many things we can really learn just by noticing what's going on in nature. And the way plants grow is so amazing. Okay, here it comes. Listen, we all have storms in our lives, and you've probably heard this before. Or maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't heard this at all. But storms are temporary, right? And we are actually, as physical humans, designed to be resilient and to get through and learn from any adversity in our lives. So, if you watch nature, there's storms outside, right? And when the storms come, what do the trees do, for example? Or any other plant? They don't just say, oh no, there's wind and rain, I'm going to fall over and die and give up. They don't. They become resilient. They blow and bend and come back. And when they move like that, they get stronger in that motion of the wind. Now, sometimes there will be trees that if the winds normally come from one direction and the winds come from a different direction, you know, after decades and decades of blowing in one direction, the trees may be weaker going the other way, but most of the trees are still going to survive. Now, sometimes the trees will drop their baggage, so to speak. So they will, they'll drop limbs that are holding them back from strengthening the rest of their form, the rest of the tree. But they don't give up. They get rid of the baggage, the excess baggage, and send it on its way and reinforce what is good that's going on with them. All right, I'm a little worried about this plant here. I'm trying to kind of shim up some of the potting soil underneath this root formation that's very unique that I've never seen before, and see what we can do. And I think once I get the stake in it to help support it, that it will work better. Okay, this guy is going to need a little extra love later today because he's a little floppy, but he's in his new home. And it's kind of weirdly floppy. Okay, let's see if there's any comments before we move on. Nope, not yet. All right, so let's take a look at these. Let me see over here. Okay, we're gonna do the parsley next. So what are other things that are needed for any sort of growth? Well, obviously there's foundational things like the potting soil. And what do you need for your foundation? This is something that's really good to ask yourself and go on some self-discovery. And when you do that, you start like literally magnetizing answers to you, to yourself, about yourself. Like they're all inside of you, and you can pull these answers out and know the truth in it. So what else do you need? You've got soil as a good foundation in a nice, healthy pot. The pot's almost like, that could be like your physical container, your human body. So you want the outside of it to be sturdy and work properly. And the inside of it's going to have soil and minerals and vitamins and all the things that help grow a healthy body and repair a healthy body. And then the plant inside, it's almost like your life force, like your soul in there, if you want to relate it to something like that. And the needs may change, but there's always something pure and truthful. Like a parsley plant's always a parsley plant. Like when is it never a parsley plant? Unless it's an entirely different plant in a different pot, right? And so, whoops. All right, these guys are a little tangled. I need 2 hands for this. So I don't want to tear all the parsley up while I separate them. And then you fill your container to nurture and feed that plant with more things that are nutritious and healthy for it. Plenty of water. What is happening? This is like really tangled. Okay, we're gonna do this guy. We'll do that guy after we detangle some of the other ones. See, it is so needed that they get their own pots to live in now. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna pull off that little bit there. And again, I'm gonna break up this root ball. Wow, these are big enough they probably could each get their own. But we're gonna do them kind of like the bundle of basil that I bought. That rhymes. And do 2 in each container. And I can always separate them out later as needed. And I want to separate these 2 guys on this side because they have been struggling a little. These are not my only plants, as you can imagine. And I have a rosemary bush, although small, that has been really growing like wildfire. And I need to trim it, and I'm going to dry the rosemary so I have it over the winter months as well. Okay, so these 2 are here in this pot. All right, so this is interesting what's coming through. So sometimes there are energies that want to thrive together. And there's a lot of different understandings out there about this sort of topic. But mostly is what it is, and the truth of it is that it's like a paired energy. So it's about co-creation, which is what we are, one of the things we're here to do is to create by ourselves, but also with others who may share common interest or even a common vibrational energy. And it may be that it's an eternal pair, somebody that you have known before you got here from non-physical and incarnated on Earth, and part of your soul contract is to meet up here in physical. Or it just could be, and you could be, you know, together forever creating and co-creating. Or it could be something that's more temporary, like you want to have an experience with lots of different soul energies and physical humans, and when you're done with one project, move on to another. Okay, so we'll see how these guys grow together. So there they are with a little more room in their new home. I'm going to do the same thing with the other parsley plants. Now, this one here is going to need a little trimming, just like when trees drop their limbs to get rid of the old energy that's not serving them. Sometimes, here we go. So sometimes you'll see plants that won't drop the dead parts. They won't drop the energy that's not serving them. They want to hold on to it. And it's detrimental to the plan of them growing and thriving. But for some reason, they just hold on to it. Now, as a human, we can see this in plants really easily. But can we see this? We can see this too sometimes in our friends and family and other people, but can we see this in ourselves? See, that's a little bit harder for a lot of people because it takes a lot to, you know, for some of us to really accept that responsibility that it's our own doing. It's our own doing that we won't let go of what was that isn't serving us. So you can see it's got some brown here. It's not really going to help it in the long run. And what I found watching these parsley plants is they won't give up those dead leaves. It'll just cause the other leaves to want to die, which is sad, but it's the truth. And unless there is a force to come in and help, or at least get started with the plant helping itself, which I think is even better, to learn to help itself. And I don't know if plants can necessarily do that. I am not a botanist, and there might possibly be a plant that can. But as a human, I can see that this plant needs some help, and I know how to help it, and so I will. Now, if it's another human that needs some help, I can see that they need some help, but it's a little trickier, because we as humans need to take some responsibility in helping ourselves, even if it means we need to ask for help. It's hard. I get it. I've been there. It's admitting that you can't do it all on your own just yet, and that's okay. And so it is important to reach out to somebody that you connect with, that you feel good with, and ask them for that help. And I see we have someone watching. Hello, Rita. It's good to have you here. We are out in nature and repotting plants and imparting all sorts of universal knowledge around this. It's really kind of cool. Practicing vibrational mastery with God and my higher self, and helping teach along the way. Okay, so what's left? We've got, and Rita, if you have any questions, you can ask me anything. Just post below and I will get those answered for you before I sign off. Okay, so let me make some room over here, back behind here. All right, we are up to this basil. So we've got this one over here that is wanting to start growing in its own container. Now, I didn't grab as big of a container. We have a smaller container for that one because I, honestly, I don't know. That's what I was guided to do, was to grab this smaller one, and I don't need to know what the reason is yet. It will come later when it's true and important. I just know that right now, the reason was it's supposed to be in this smaller pot. So let's get this pot ready. We've got our container. Whoops, making a mess. That's why I'm outside doing this. Physical container, and we are putting in good nutrition in the form of soil with all the things, the vitamins, the minerals that basil is going to need. And it's important too to recognize, like, this is really, it's an analogy of you living and thriving. And when you have desires for more can't be delivered if you're not ready. So get ready. Get yourself ready. And that's this basil plant here. Can't have more until it is in another container. So, you know, there's this saying that if you're not growing, you're dying, and that's what's happening. And this basil here is so wanting to grow that it started to die off. So I would notice and help it. It can't pick up itself and move. We have feet. So let's try and get this one separated out of the herd here and into its own spot. Okay, so Rita is asking, any guidance for me living in Evolve You? Also, any guidance from my higher self, Marcella, as she has been quiet since we evolved. Okay, so for those of you watching, let me see, Hopefully not go quiet. Literally every time I'm on a live or a Zoom, somebody calls me. Hopefully I didn't go quiet. Okay, so what I want to say is, for those of you watching who don't know what Evolve You is, it is an energy that, I'm not sure how to get this guy out. It's an energy that is, let me put it this way. In the whole journey, you start with not being awakened and connected. You're disconnected. Then you feel the call to awaken. You go through awakening. You reach your broadest truth. You are all this time learning to live the truths that you've created for yourself. And releasing your low vibration, replacing it with high vibration, feeling really good. And then you can choose to go into Evolve You energy. And I think the easiest way to explain it for those who don't know what it is that it's soul-led living with God. So you're really connected to your soul and you live your life through those truths that you have created. It's really magical and magnificent. And what's interesting is before Evolve You, your connection is very strong with your higher self. And it's almost like your higher self leads the guidance, like that intuition that you're feeling is your higher self, and you follow that, and so you are led in that way by your higher self. Now, when we choose to evolve as physical human, we go first. We lead the way, and our higher selves will then choose to go into Evolve You. So we go first, our higher selves go second. And sometimes, since this isn't like the first time on Earth and in non-physical that this has happened, and this occurred the end of last September, beginning of October, so it's still really new. This is the first time it's happened, so there's a learning curve, to be fair, on humans that are acclimatizing to this new way of living their lives and the energy around it. And that being said, higher selves. So they've never experienced this before, and they're in non-physical trying to acclimatize as well. So sometimes it takes them a little longer, and that's okay. We help them along. So why has Marcella been quiet? Well, Marcella's been coming through to let you know, Rita, that she feels like you've got this. And so she is stepped back, like you said, she's in the passenger seat. She's in the passenger seat. You are in charge. You are responsible for your soul-led living, and she understands that, and she is so happy with it. Just like any other higher self is happy with it. Now, you can set the intention to have her come in. You can invite her in and have a day or a week or however long you want and say, Marcella, you take the wheel this time and let's see what happens. But she knows that you've got this, that you are so strong in your Evolve You energy. And, you know, in non-physical, and you know this, but for those who are watching that don't, your higher self, although they are extremely focused on you and connected to you and nobody else in physical, they have like jobs that they do and training that they do in non-physical. And so she is quite happy knowing that you are safe and supported, and that your soul is leading the way for you, and that you're very connected, and that energy it's just going. It's going. And so she's happy to go focus on some of her other jobs. But she is always there for you. So you just set the intention for when you want her in and allow for her energy to come through for you, and you'll be able to notice her more, that she's around when you specifically ask her to be there. So I hope that helped and answered your question. And we have this basil all by itself, and we have the rest of our basil over here. I know there's a little gap, but what's going to happen is that as I trim the tops to use in delicious cooking and things like that, this will start to bush out. So that's something I learned, was how do I actually not kill my herbs when I want to have fresh herbs in my cookery. So that was one thing I learned. If you trim in just the right way, your basil should bush out instead of getting tall and stocky. All right, so we don't have any more plants to mess with that are out here. I've messed with a lot of plants and I think they've enjoyed it. And what's going to happen next for them is we are going to get some fertilizer in there that's proper for them. I found a really nice organic liquid fertilizer. A lot of times I was just in the old days. You guys don't realize how old I physically am. This is part of what's coming up for you later in the fall, because I'm going to bottle it up for you and let you in on the secret. But I used to use a lot of that shake on kind of Miracle Grow kind of stuff, and sometimes that's appropriate if my plant is wanting that. But I was guided last time I was in our local store to try these organic liquid ones and see how they do. So they are going to get a nice meal and a nice drink of water and some sunlight, and this guy with the funny roots coming off the side will get a nice steak so that he can grow tall and bear some delicious cherry tomatoes. Now, before I go, I do want to let you know that the rest of this month, I still have that super special limited time price on my Soul to Soul Remembering session. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going on a trip back down. Whoops. Okay, so what is that? Whoops, okay, we'll get it. Here we go. All right. So my Soul to Soul Remembering session is perfect because before you were physical, you were non-physical, and you were purely love labeled. And once you've transformed here on physical Earth, you've incarnated into a little baby and you're born here on Earth, you forget who you are. And it's common, it's normal, it's an occurrence in physical human. And you feel, bye Rita, thank you for coming. You feel you're here for more, right? Like a lot of you feel this deep down and you might be trying to stuff it down, but stop doing that. It doesn't serve you, just like those dead branches on trees don't serve the tree. Get rid of that energy and let it flow. You know you're here for more than whatever you're doing. So together we can actually remember this from non-physical. So what this Soul to Soul Remembering session does is it's an energetic session where we have a soul to soul connection, and I will ignite remembering energy for you in non-physical before you transform to physical human. And that is sure to reveal many of those missing puzzle pieces that you are just wanting to know and understand about yourself. Now, I have an immense soul capability. I have many soul capabilities. And between that and God and my broader non-physical team, together we're going to help you know and understand you, because it's time to remember who you are and why you're here and what you're meant to do. Now, what else is going on? Well, I'm gonna skip over some of this stuff because things are changing in the background. But there is something super special coming up later this year. It is just starting to crystallize into what's going to happen. But in the meantime, between now and then, you are going to notice some energetic changes around my messaging. This is completely meant to help you understand who I am and how I can help you right here, right now. And you will see some energetic changes in color, not necessarily colors, but I guess branding might be the word to use, like that normal physical stuff. But anyway, you'll notice that. And then next month, I will be back with a series of lives. What are we doing? Where are we? What step are we on? This month, the broadest truth is step 3. So we'll be working around step 4 in my magnificence journey and teaching you how to magnetize that for yourself. But next week, it's not the end of June yet, is it? Next week will be the 4th video of the broadest truth, which is part of step 3 in the magnificence journey. That's going to be, I believe, I think it's on Monday. It might actually be on Tuesday next week. Watch for the event and then you'll know for sure. Anyway, if you're interested in the Soul to Soul Remembering session, the link above is up there for you to book that. You can also work with me in group settings or one-to-one. If you're not sure what step is right for you, then hop on a free call with me and we can discover that together. So just put a comment below or DM me and let me know that it is what you're looking for, as you don't know what you're looking for, but you know it's something, and I can help you sort that out. So I don't see any other questions or comments, but if you're watching on replay, please feel free to add them below and I will check back later today. I want to thank you all for being here, and please remember that it is time. It's time to transform the next segment on your journey towards your own true, beautiful magnificence. So let's magnetize that true, beautiful magnificence together, and I will see you next week. Sending you so much love. Bye.